Now, on this day, 3 or 4 years ago, I made my first faction cruiser kill, and I think it was a Cinnaball or a Phantasm. I forgot, but yeah, on this day I destroyed my very first faction cruiser in PvP. Well, today I'll be doing some solo PvP, because why not? It's one of my favorite activities in the game, although lately I think for the most part I have been mostly solo. I either doing some PvE, or basically I was doing industry or exploration, but today I'll be doing some PvP. Basically that's my favorite thing in the game. Now, I really wish that I'm able to return to the Ashimu. I really miss flying that ship. The Ashimu used to be a very scary ship for solo PvP, and it was one of my most successful ships for a very long time, and was also one of my oldest ships in service. Right up until I sold it. But who knows? Maybe if the developers change the game a bit in the favor of, well, not exactly in the favor of the Ashimu, but if they change how some things in the game work, then I'm definitely going to go back to that ship, because I honestly do miss flying Blood Raider ships. They're very fun, and I believe the Ashimu's price has significantly dropped. I remember, I think my first ever Ashimu was bought for like 3.6 billion, like 3-4 years ago, and look at the price now, almost 900 million. So it's definitely one of the cheapest faction cruisers on the market. Although not the cheapest. I think the Cinnaball and the Celos might be the cheapest one, but the Ashimu's price has definitely went down quite a bit. It's definitely not as expensive as it used to be, and it's still a good ship. It is still a very good ship, but not for solo PvP, but as a support ship in a small fleet or a large fleet. The Ashimu is definitely going to shine a lot. And also there is the topic on Macariel. I don't know what I'll do with this ship. I mean, I still fly it. I love it, but I kind of want to retire this ship and basically stop flying it, because it's quite old. Now, when I say that I want to retire the Macariel, I don't mean that I want to completely stop flying it. I basically just want to replace it with a different ship for PvP, since I kind of want to keep this ship alive for as long as possible. It is a very special ship for me, and it has been in operation for a very long time, one of the oldest ships in the game. Now, time to go to the first targets. We have a Vindicator. Now, the Vindicator was at 0, and for some reason my modules are literally all over the place, and the warp distance isn't that far away, so I have to be very quick with making all the modules go into the right place. I don't know why the game does this, but it's very annoying when you have to readjust every module every time you log in. I don't know why that happens. I have no explanation for it, but in any case, there is the Vindicator. A very good warping, right in my optimal, well, not exactly optimal, but you know, well within this Karemla range, and time to overheat everything and time to open fire. Now, at this moment my general units are a little bit messed up, which means that I am lacking about 50% of my maximum possible VPS with the barrage implant and with the Macariel. So it definitely did take a bit longer than usual to go through the shield, but the Vindicator is now into armor. By the looks of it, this Vindicator was a shield tank. Haven't looked at the ship before warping in. I was rushing to get the ship and basically to get to the mission as quickly as possible, but I would say this is a shield tank Vindicator. And the Vindicator has been destroyed. Nice, let's loot. And that was some decent loot actually. It looked like decent loot. I also got a storyline mission, and I believe I got some very nice C-type turrets. They can be quite expensive, although I need them for some of my ships. So I might end up keeping them. We will see. Or maybe selling them. I have no idea. But that was a very nice first kill. Happy with the result. Of course, the DPS is obviously different from usual. I believe I have about 13,000 DPS with my correct general unit layout. I have no idea how much DPS I have now, but it's definitely less than that. 3.1 billion. Very nice loot drop. I got a lot of these C-type blasters, and yeah, this Vindicator had 9 stabs. So that was a good choice that I took 3 scramblers. They couldn't warp away, even if they wanted to, because I had a lot of points. Now let's go to the next target. This time I am in the Bot Maler. I love this ship. It's a hilarious cruiser, designed to be cheap, replaceable, and designed to be tanky. One of the more tanky low tier cruisers, although the tier doesn't really mean much, because this thing can, if built properly, it can easily tank faction cruisers. Even with implants, you can get the Maler to tank a lot of DPS, and this is why I like it. Now I don't have an NR core for it. I basically just use it to be very cheap, as already mentioned. So if it dies, then just get a new one and continue where the last one failed. The build has a tank build, very cheap as well. I think I have like tier 2 rigs on this thing. So in general, we're looking at a very, very cheap and effective little cruiser. Now this is a Thorax. They were just sitting here in the anomaly, and I thought at first that this might be a bait, but I haven't been webbed, I haven't been scrambled yet. And they're basically using long-range rifle railguns, which obviously, as you can see, don't have enough tracking to hit me, although I also kind of don't have enough tracking with my orbit, which is kind of weird because I have very good skills for lasers. It should hit, but it doesn't really do much damage, so I might as well go and use my own keep at range option as I usually do when engaging different targets. Now, depending on the target, sometimes the orbit is the better choice. The orbit is really good against big ships, but keep at range is also decent when you have a lot of DPS, or in this case when you can tank a lot of damage, since the orbit is making your ship harder to hit, and therefore you'll be taking less damage, and therefore it's going to be easier to tank the incoming damage from any target. Okay, the ship has been destroyed. Obviously this wasn't a bait, but I thought that it was a bait. I always just assume that whatever ship comes in, that it's a bait, since there is a lot of salt, and I mean, although haven't seen a bait in a while, haven't seen a proper bait in a while. Usually they warp off the second I log in, which is kind of funny, but yeah, can let my guard down. Honestly, my guard has to be always up, and I always have to expect the unexpected. How do you expect the unexpected, you say? Well, that's a good question, because in a way I can kind of predict the unexpected, and I'm usually correct when I do that prediction. So I guess with practice it does come along. But that was a very nice kill as well. Let's go to the next one. I took out the good old cells, as mentioned in some of the previous videos. My cells, well, I have 2 of them. One of them is kind of built to be a brawler. Basically, it uses autocannons, scramblers, and it is short range. The other one is basically a kite, which is built for long range and speed. Although kind of both of these ships are already built to be as a kite, because the high level barraging plant doesn't apply all the damage if your rate of fire is very high. So in the case of the cells, since it does have the battery mode and my high level barraging plant, if I turn on the barraging plant and the battery mode at the same time, and if I use the gyrostabilis, the rate of fire just becomes way too fast for the game server to count. And in some cases I have some missing DPS. Now it still does apply a lot of DPS, but if I really want to do full damage and to take advantage of the barraging plant to the fullest with my current level and with my current build, and with the ship at least, the artillery cannons are just the way to go, basically. Doesn't mean that the autocannons are bad. I love the autocannons. They shoot so fast. It's very fun to use this thing with the autocannons. But the artillery cannons are also really fun, and I started to prefer the artillery cannons over the autocannons, at least on the cells, because of the battery mode, which does increase the rate of fire by about 30%, and that's basically like having the implant on level 30, or in this case above 30, because above 45, my apologies, since my barrage is 38, I believe, and with extra 30%, it does behave like my barrage implant is on 52 or something like that, which is kind of funny. So the artillery cannons are definitely very effective, and they have a very nice alpha damage, as well as a very nice rate of fire, and they're also very satisfying to use. Very good against cruisers, very good against battle cruisers, very good against most of the smaller ships, even effective against frigates. Can also be used with against battleships, but for battleships you have to orbit, since battleships are kind of dangerous if they manage to land a big hit on your ships. And this is, after all, a cruiser, and against the big ships, as mentioned before in this video, you should be orbiting, because that's how you outmaneuver the large guns, large lasers, large blasters on the battleships. Now, missiles can be tricky depending on the ship. There are some battleships with missiles that are dangerous, like the Raven Navy, the Typhoon 2. They have a very nice damage application, and I would avoid fighting them with a cells, because they can still apply very nice damage with missiles, unless you can somehow outmaneuver and outrun the missiles. Then you can fight them without a problem. Okay, I'll be getting a Macari, I believe. Next target is a Cycle. Now, usually against battlecruisers, cruisers, frigates, and so on, I usually use a cruiser. But in some instances where I smell that the target has a lot of stabs, or that the target can be a bit, let's say, more difficult to catch, I use a ship that is totally going to catch and destroy as fast as possible. Basically, that's what I'm doing here, because I have seen a very expensive drone on the Cyclone, and I also seen that they're using a interesting nanocore. So I decided to play it safe and take something that is going to destroy the ship as quickly as possible, so that if it is a expensive ship, that I get the kill and that I get the loot, which can theoretically be very expensive. And since PvP is one of my ways of getting ISK, I have to ensure that I get the kill. Now, this was a good warp-in. This Cyclone was also pretty close to 0. I have 3 scramblers, and I went full. I'm going full DPS. First hit, said 2 hits, and we already passed the shield. Second hit, armor, and third hit, we destroyed the Cyclone. That was a very fast kill. And let's see what's inside of that wreck. Well, I got some B types, and the expansion drone has dropped. So yeah, this does look like a expensive kill, and I'm very glad that I actually picked the Macariel for this job, because if I think if I was in a Celos, the Cyclone would be able to warp out, because in some cases you can't really fit more than 9 points on some of the ships. At least on the cruisers, on the cells, I can fit 3 scrummers theoretically, but I want to have at least one a medium slot with a web or any other EVOR module. But with the Macariel, I can just slap 3 scrummers and a web, and basically I have the exact thing that I need. Now this is a 2.2 billion ISK Cyclone kill, very expensive one, and most could have been a better loot drop, to be honest, but I am not going to complain. I got the expensive drone. I also got some B types, so this was a very nice, and I would say good kill. Now let's go to the next target. We'll be warping to the planet. As you can see, my modules are also all over the place for some reason. I still have to make a video on the cells with my new build with A types, and I basically decided to go with my primary cells, a bit expensive lately. Well, I say a bit expensive. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to see how much DPS I can get out of this thing. I'm sitting at about 6.2 thousand DPS when I go full A types. So that's the DPS that this thing can pull with that A type build. Now, let me see. Okay, everything should be, yeah, that's the right ship. Although not the A type modules, but you know, fairly close. Is it overkill? Yes. Is it too expensive? Yes. But this ship isn't dying anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Although my target here has smelled the trap and they have warped off. Oh well. I can wait a little bit and maybe they come back, or I just go and take the Stratios out and basically try to catch them with the Stratios. I think in one of the last videos I did show you the Stratios. I think I did. I don't know. I uploaded all the videos lately, so I might lose track a little bit. But I did buy the Stratios back. I did have a little break from it, since that's like, if I have a ship that hasn't had any luck, it's the Stratios. That ship died the dumbest deaths, honestly. Like, and it is a very good ship though. The reason why I returned to it is because there's no other ship that can pull off the same stealth tackle as the Stratios. It's just a very unique ship, and no other ship does do the same. So the Stratios, no matter how much bad luck I have with it, is irreplaceable, because it is very sneaky and it has some very nice DPS. I basically use the same build as I had before. A full-on DPS build with the bombarding plant, which hopefully I will level up even more. Right, I actually wasted all of these on new ships. As you guys know, I have some expensive navies, I have some expensive stuff like that, so definitely a expensive hobby, I would say. Now, the next target, we have a Harvey. The Harvey was at 70 kilometers. I'm warping close to it. Almost got decloaked when I was scouting the target, because my bad luck made me misclick the range, and I basically landed almost at zero with Aster on it. And now I actually landed a bit outside of the scramble range, but not going to be a big issue since this thing is very fast. Now I'm well within range. Battery mode is active, and I'm going full DPS on this thing. There we go. Some very nice DPS and very nice rate of fire as well. The odd cans are just so fun to use. Nice, that was a good catch. Let's loot and let's warp out. Warping out, asteroid belt, 100 kilometers. Usually I don't have a clocking device on this thing, but in some cases the clocking device is very helpful. After all, this is a cloaky Cinnabon. I still can't get over the fact that I remember making a joke about a cloaky Cinnabon like 3 years ago, and I'm actually flying one. That's why I'm actually kind of low-key hoping that we'll get a cloaky Macariel. I'll be all over that thing. I tell you, if we get a cloaky Macariel, that's my favorite ship in the game. That's gonna be my favorite ship in the game. And I'll fly it. Now this is a surprisingly expensive and surprisingly cursed Harby. I'm actually impressed by the amount of cursed ships that I've seen lately. But I'll be making a video about that very soon. It should be quite hilarious to watch that, to be honest. And as I already was talking about this, about the Stratius, there is the Stratius. Basically, this is the build that it rolls. It has also a very different. I have to show the idea behind the Stratius. It's kind of ridiculous, kind of stupid, but I really want to show you what I did with that ship. Not really a entirely finished product yet. Still have to do a lot more with this thing, but the idea is hilarious. So I have to, when I have time, I'll have to make a Stratius video, since this thing is really silly with that idea, and it's hilarious what I can do with this thing. The thing that I might have a problem with the Stratius is power grid now, because the build that I want to roll on it is not exactly, let's say, conventional, but you will see what I mean. Now we have an Astra, and this Astra is inside of a exploration site. Now, one thing that I have to start doing, and I was planning this like so many times, and I never really went out and did it because, you know, time and I was always caught doing something different. But I basically want to go and camp exploration sites with the Stratius. That can be very fun, and I personally plan to do that very soon. The thing I forgot is my implant. Celas without a barrage implant. I have a thermal circulation implant, which is not going to do much on this thing. But there's the Drake. At the time of recording this, I didn't even realize that I missed the implant. I realized that later on. This is the moment where I realized that, oh, where is my barrage implant? Oh, it's gone. Lovely. And what can possibly go wrong? Well, everything can go wrong. When it starts like this, then yeah, everything goes wrong basically when you forget the implant like this. Now you might be thinking, well, I think I still have a good distance, and my ship doesn't respond to orbits, and the NPC ships decide to shoot at me as well. So I'm basically under fire from Drake. I am also under fire from all of the storyline ships, which is exactly what I was talking about. What can possibly go wrong? Well, everything. Although it is fair until I'm low hull, depending on how the battle goes. The Drake lost shield. I also lost shield. The Drake is taking some armor damage. I'm also taking armor damage. Maybe the thermal circulation implant is helping a little bit out here, because armor and thermal circulation enhances the armor. So Drake is in hull. I'm also almost in hull, preparing to warp. That should be able to withstand a bit more hits, I guess. 76% hull. Drake is also 40% hull, 49% hull, and something funny that happened that I didn't notice up until making this video. The Drake warped out at the same time I warped out. The Drake is stabbed. They have stabs, and I didn't realize that at the time. But that was fun. If I didn't forget my barrage implant, the Drake would have been dead, because my rate of fire and DPS with the barrage implant on this thing is quite scary. Yep, that's the thermoscalation implant. Lovely. That was that's yeah, this is a fail. If something is a fail, it's this. Now I changed the implant, and now I'm going back. The Drake is also back. I have repaired the ship. I double checked everything this time, so that nothing surprises me. I mean, things can still go wrong, by the way. don't get me wrong. Everything can go wrong at any time. Luck is still a very important factor to consider, and have no luck. So, I'm always expecting the worst, basically. Alright, there's the Drake. Let's keep it range. Barrage implant engaged. Battle mode engaged. And as you can see, now the DPS is much better. I have turned on the damage control, which should help a little bit out. The Drake is now in armor, taking heavy damage, and this is as you can see, there's a big difference between the DPS with or without barrage implant. Barrage just knocked out the shield in seconds. And if I did this the first time, well, this Drake would have been destroyed, but as you know, based on the first little experience we had, the Drake has stabs, and that was a warp out at 1% hull. Alright, well, that will be it for today. It was a very nice little run. I was definitely very happy when I got that Vindicator, because a couple days ago I logged in just a minute too late to catch a Vindicator, and yeah, unfortunately that one escaped. It was my fault, honestly. Almost, if I was able to log in, we would have another very nice kill, but I got this one, so I guess that kind of solved the problem. But with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. If you would like to support me, feel free to like and subscribe. And with that being said, stay safe, fly safe, and as always, I'll see you next time.